Okay, shall we get to some of that
News.
sweet news? Gaming
You want to kick us
news.
off on?
With some of this EA Play shenanigans.
Ooh.
First, I need to get a
So EA
timestamp here.
decided to do E3 like a month later. Yeah,
I
it was a
mean,
cool.
yeah.
It was a cool show. Did you watch it?
No, I just got the recap after the fact.
It was cool. It was hosted by Austin Creed.
I did see him. I watched bits and pieces.
He was really
Austin
fun.
Creed, yeah.
And it was like well paced. They kind of knew what. I mean, EA had come out prior being like, hey, there's going to be no Star Wars, there's going to be no Skate. So there was no Dragon Age or Mass Effect. So there was a lot of shit they like set expectation for. But I thought the show was still pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, there was something for everyone, I'd say.
Yeah, I definitely think that's true. So yeah, the big thing at the end, which had kind of been teased beforehand, was a trailer for Dead Space. So this is a full-on remake of the first one, developed by EA Motive, who most recently did Star Wars Squadrons. And judging by the interview with IGN that published afterwards, it sounds more and more like an amalgamation of Dead Space 1 and 2, because it's going to be the Dead Space 1 story on the Ishimura, but it will have elements from 2, sort of like the no camera cuts. Like everyone talks about God of War doing it first, but Dead Space 2 did that shit ages ago.
Oh, really? Sure.
And the 0G mechanics from 2, because they weren't super great in 1. So I'm curious to see how that works, because 1 was definitely segmented into hubs that you traveled between with that tram system that, you couldn't go backwards and forwards. Each one, it was a product of the time. BioShock did the exact same thing at the time. So curious to see how that works. I'm keen. I'm just happy Dead Space is back, because I think that franchise is fucking incredible.
Yeah. Look, to be clear, I know you and I said, like, does Dead Space need a remake? But I don't think it does, but I'm not going to say no to a Dead Space remake.
Of course.
It's one
100%.
of those things where I'm like, yay, we're getting a new Dead Space. And then I'm like, yay, we're getting a new Dead Space. It's going to scare me.
I just hope it does well, and it means that EA will pay more attention to this franchise going forward. If we have to sit through a remake of the first one for that, that's fine. Like, I'm totally there.
Yeah, but then they're going to remake the third one, and everyone's going to be like, oh, Dead Space is not a horror game anymore. Boo.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm keen for that. There's no date on that.
No, and what they showed for audio listeners, it's like literally almost like a mood trailer where you just see it's dark. You see Isaac's iconic health bar / spine thingy.
You hear that noise when it gets topped up. You hear a necromorph. What's interesting is that it's only for new consoles and PC.
About time.
Yeah.
Make that cut off. Let's get just next gen stuff.
The weird thing is that it's in Frostbite, which I find strange. Because so all the third person action games that have been used in Frostbite have all been or have been made in Frostbite have all been a bit weird. Like Dragon Age Inquisition controlled a bit weirdly. Most recently, Mass Effect Andromeda was a shit show at launch. And Jedi Fallen Order wasn't in Frostbite. It was in Unreal. And I feel like a lot of that game's feel is because it was made in an engine that is more forgiving for that style of game. So maybe EA Motive is super used to Frostbite, and that's why they're going with that. I just hope that they've wrangled it in a way that it doesn't feel janky like most other third-person games have in that engine.
It might work. Not necessarily in the favor of Dead Space, but I mean, Dead Space is, it's more of a slow, methodical movement kind of game. So I don't know. We'll see, I guess. But yeah, that was I suppose, the big surprise at EA Play. But there was a lot of other news for long-time fans of, for example, Apex Legends getting a new season with a new character named
called Sia.
Sia.
Yeah, I think a character from, if I'm not mistaken, Nigeria.
Oh, yeah?
Which is cool. and seems to have abilities that are kind of similar to Bloodhound, where they are tracking foes,
Okay.
stuff like that. So, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, more
I've been
Apex.
out of the loop with Apex for ages,
I
so I
can't
can't
believe.
really tell you what the
Yeah,
big things are.
exactly. Oh, look at that! I can't believe they're
Damn,
on
that
season
character
10.
design is dope. Yeah, can't believe that either.
Oh,
This game keeps going from strength to strength. Like,
yeah.
people are obsessively playing this. So
Mm.
yeah, I
I
think everyone there is pretty happy with it.
I still stand by. I think this is the best battle royale game on the market.
It's definitely the best feeling one.
Yeah,
Definitely has the best gun feel and combat feel. So
yeah.
yeah, I can vibe with it. I mean, when it came out, we actually played quite a bit of it, I
No, I've played
recall.
a fair bit
So
of Apex. Yeah.
yeah. Trailer is
Um.
really stylish. I quite like
Yeah.
it.
We got some Vroom Grid Legends,
Hmm.
which is a
A
new
new
racing
racing game
game
from
from
Codemasters. Yeah.
Codemasters.
So that's cool. Grid in the past has been fairly heavy on simulation racing. This one has a story mode, I guess akin to the work Codemasters has done with the Formula One franchise over the past few years.
Mm.
So there's going to be a story. It looks like lots of street racing, maybe a bit arcadey.
Yeah.
It's got the actor, I forget his name now, from Sex Education, who is amazing. He's a phenomenal
Nice.
actor. Yeah, him. He's so good.
It
So
looks really
yeah,
pretty. Damn.
it looks really good. Yeah, it looks quite pretty. So yeah, I'm down for that. I'm down for more racing games, and Grid has generally been a really fun racing franchise.
Yeah.
Codemasters does great work, so yeah, keen for that.
There you go. This you'll have to explain to me. Lost in Random. This is a new IP, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it
so
is a new IP. Sorry.
this is one of those, like indie games in the EA Originals line. So it's a bit hard to explain. I mean, I was busy covering this. Well, I
Oh,
was like
have
half
you
watching,
not?
half. So I sort of understand that it has a lot of mechanics built around dice rolls, and from my understanding, it's like a dungeon crawler. With that in mind.
Mm.
So yeah, it's got a real Tim Burton-esque look
Oh,
to
yeah,
it.
it does. Damn.
So you see, you've got
Okay.
mechanics completely tied to dice rolls.
That's pretty cool.
And then it's like an adventure game as well. So it looks cool. I think it's got a novel idea, and its look is very, very
Shit, that is
eye-catching.
very, very Tim Burton. You're right.
Yeah, it's super Tim Burton-y. I think it looks great, and I'm actually kind of keen to play it. It looks really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, check out that fish in a top hat. Real cool. I think it's out fairly
real
soon.
stylish.
Yeah, it released the 10th of
September
September. Yeah.
10th. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Real cool.
Knockout City Season 2. You reviewed this game. You love Knockout City, so some new content for people like you.
Yeah, new
focused on the
content, new
magic
maps.
of filmmaking in Hollywood.
Yeah, new maps, a new type of ball. So that's cool. I think it's cool that they are supporting this game. I haven't played much recently, but I know that the game has kind of been taken over by real hardcore players. So
Really?
people are finding real depth in the gameplay. So that's cool. I think this game has a lot more legs than the other free to play titles.
Rocket
Like Rocket Arena. Fuck that game. Yeah.
And then I suppose the last big piece of news is Battlefield 2042 getting. I mean, we know Battlefield 2042 is coming out, but it's getting a new mode called Well, it's. I don't know if it's a new mode or what you would call it, but it's called Battlefield Portal.
Yeah.
Which is essentially Battlefield Portal mode, which is essentially it gives players the tools to take weapons and characters and vehicles from just about every other battlefield and make custom
smush them together
into custom maps and modes. So for example, you could have a team of soldiers from Germany in Battlefield like from World War II and have them up against super soldiers from Battlefield 2042. Like they showed one of the examples was like you can have 20 soldiers from World War II versus 4 super soldiers from 2042. I'm like, that sounds like a lot of fun for the 4 players playing as a super soldiers.
Yeah, it does.
but I can't say I'd be keen to be one of the 20 other players. But look, I think
Mm.
it's cool that they're giving players the tools to, mix and match these different, there's a lot of franchise Battlefield titles here just under one roof, which is pretty cool. Like, I think the biggest news for me is that a lot of iconic maps from previous Battlefields will be available. And that's really cool.
I
Like,
saw people very excited about that one from Battlefield 3 coming back.
yeah. Is
Yeah, I
it
don't know what it's called. Yeah,
Caspian?
Caspian Sea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or
Look,
yeah.
Battlefield 3 had some really, really good maps. So I'm very keen for that.
I think it looks like a cool mode. It's like akin to Halo's Forge mode, which, like you said, just lets players create fun, weird modes and pull in from the whole franchise's history. So I think this might be more exciting for diehard Battlefield fans than the actual just normal multiplayer. So
Yeah.
yeah, it looks great. Looks very interesting.
Yeah. And that was EA Play, really. That
Yeah.
was like six or seven announcements. Yeah, all was it under an hour?
Yeah, it was a nice touch show. I think if the Dead Space stuff hadn't leaked beforehand, it might
It
have
would have been, like next level.
it might have hit a lot harder. But it was a fun show. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was cool.
This past weekend, well, on Friday, the Olympics in Japan kicked off. But what was quite a nice surprise is that the opening ceremony was full of video game music from Japan. So I've not seen any footage, but I have heard of music from Final Fantasy making an appearance, Dragon Quest, Monster Hunter. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff
Kingdom
happening over
Hearts,
here.
yeah.
I think that's
It's mostly like the
oh
Square
wow,
Enix catalog, Square Enix and Capcom
yeah.
catalog, and Sega. Funnily enough, someone actually pointed out that like there is no Nintendo music here, which is interesting.
Right in the heart. Maybe Nintendo like
Yeah.
nah.
There's no like Zelda Ocarina of Time
No
tune
Mario.
or anything in there.
Come
No
on.
Mario. Yeah. Only Sonic was at this Olympics. No Mario. They even had Pro
Wow.
Evolution Soccer featured. I mean,
Really? Oh, they did.
you. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I think it was cool for like gamers on Twitter who were watching the thing and then like, wait, I recognize that music.
Yeah.
Wait, I recognize that too. It was like a big surprise. So
Yeah.
that's kind of cool. But yeah, all these franchises mentioning Dragon Quest, Monster Hunter, fucking Ace Combat, Nier, Fantasy Star Online.
Great. Oh wow,
a lot.
Gradius.
They pulled from Gradius. My goodness,
Amazing.
yeah.
And even
There's
some
some
Soul
real
Calibur.
deep cuts here.
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog. So yeah, that's cool. Still don't know why the Olympics are going forward. It's quite funny because if you play Plague Inc., there's a in-game scenario there that is like the Olympics are going ahead despite warnings from the World Health Organization that it will lead to more spreading of the disease, and you're like, we're just living this
we're playing,
right
we're living this fantasy, right?
And that wasn't added like last year. That's been in the game for years. Like when I first played it, it's just like real fucking dumb shit. But anyway,
yeah.
Good luck to all the athletes. Hope you don't get sick.
Don't die. And then we get to
skateboarding at the Olympics for the first time this year.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think there's a 13-year-old competing, the youngest Olympian, if I'm not mistaken.
I saw Tony Hawk tweeting that he was there.
Was he like, yeah, I saw Tony Hawk. Like, no, it's not him. He's old now. That
no,
dude's old.
He's quite old. He's like 4 times 13 years old.
Yeah, he's super old. And now we turn our attention to some real heavy and really upsetting news. Yeah, it came out this week that Activision Blizzard are being sued by California over widespread harassment of women. Now, you might think, yeah, we've seen reports of this before happening at like Ubisoft and Riot, but I don't think you're prepared to see the stuff that's coming out of this report. It's like highly upsetting. Like there's been a suicide, for example, and it's just what a story. And it's just like I don't know what to say really. It's just upsetting, and it's just, I suppose, an indication of how there's just still so much to do, because I can tell you now, Activision are not the only company that have issues.
Nope.
Yeah,
This
I
is an
think.
industry problem.
Yeah, and it's
That
not
is
just a gaming industry problem. Like
no,
it goes across many different professions. So yeah,
yeah, it is a worldwide problem. I mean, it is just the effects of everyone around the world saying that we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to um, treating women and women of color, especially people of
mm,
color in the workspace, just on equal footing to everyone else. And this is what people refer to when they talk about institutionalized sexism or
mm,
institutionalized racism. It is a pervasive and you know ingrained sense of sexism and racism that is incredibly difficult to topple because it is within the framework of how these companies work. It trickles down from the top, and when you have every facet of your company festering with this in some sort of way, it can be impossible to firstly escape it or find a place where you will be treated better because it is an industry wide
yeah,
thing. So, but like you said, this lawsuit. So this lawsuit is coming from the state of California, is
mm,
suing Activision and Blizzard, um, and the details of some events that have taken place over the years, were obviously cited in the lawsuit, which is in the public domain.
yeah,
And I would encourage you to read through that. Kotaku has a very expansive report on this. Bloomberg also did one,
mm,
and they all both link to the actual lawsuit, which is tons of pages that they've cherry picked from. And I mean, we'll put them in the show links because I think everyone should read this.
yeah,
It's just like too much for us to go into, but go in there knowing that there are deeply, deeply distressing stories there. Like some of the worst sort of stories I've heard of this sort of behavior in the games industry
yeah,
ever. Just truly vile and disgusting shit that women have been subjected to while working at Activision. And then just stuff that you read and you're like, yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right for what this industry is known for and how disgusting it is that it has not changed. And I think the thing that I took away from all of this week, just looking at social media and the reaction, was that these things come and go, and everyone expresses their outrage at it at the time, and then it kind
mm,
of gets forgotten. And it gets forgotten because at the end of the day, the people who have the ability to change this, men in the workplace who see this stuff and don't speak up about it, they never do. And until that starts changing, this stuff will never go away because it's all good and well to tell women to report this stuff to HR
mm,
or make a fuss about it. But at the end of the day, if if your company from the top down is governed in this way, then HR is there to protect the company.
yeah,
They're not there to protect you, so it will never change. Um, I've seen some people saying that they are going to boycott Activision products. Some websites like The Gamer have said that they will refuse to cover Activision and Blizzard games going forward until they see meaningful change.
mm,
And I don't think there is a right way to tackle this thing. I don't think there is a silver bullet because all those things comes with caveats. Like, what if a website has multiple freelance writers that depend on Call of Duty coverage? That is
yeah,
their beat. Now suddenly all that money is taken away from them for something that's not their fault.
yeah,
Who's right in that situation? Don't know. What if there's a streamer whose entire brand is built on Call of Duty? How do you
mm,
expect them to stop that? And so there's no right or wrong way. I think any sort of form of action against them will make a difference. But to me, I just hope this lawsuit gains traction where it needs to and becomes a precedent. Like, I hope there's a ruling that finally punishes these companies in a way that they have to change this, especially when you look at Activision's response,
oh
which is
yeah,
very
which
defensive and borderline passive aggressive.
yeah,
Like them saying that they they don't agree with some of the events depicted in the lawsuit. They they outright say that they are false and that they are committed to preventing misconduct in their company. And then they make this like veiled threat of like, this is why a lot of companies are moving out of California is because of this type of litigation. Like, what the fuck are you
What?
saying?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, it's real gross. It's real disgusting. Some of the comments from higher ups at Activision specifically have been real disgusting, real dismissive of victims. And then on the other side, you have comments from leadership at Blizzard who are very empathetic with the claims made, but then you look at their past behavior and it seems very performative and fake, considering comments they've made in the past. So yeah, I mean, hot on the heels of this happening at Ubisoft last year and nothing really happening. A lot of the people accused in those lawsuits were apparently investigated by a third party and retained their jobs. So there is no question that all the big developers or big, people in these companies leaving Ubisoft. Ubisoft has seen a huge exodus of talent in the
Mm.
past couple of months. I would not be surprised if you see that from Activision now if something doesn't drastically change.
Mm.
But it needs to change, and it doesn't need to change just at Activision.
Yeah, no,
This has been one of the most distressing things I've read about this industry in a long time.
yeah,
Some real fucking
there's some
disgusting
awful
shit
things
going
here.
on there. Yeah. So if you do want to read up on it, I encourage you to read up on it, but go with that, knowing that in mind. It'd be highly distressing to read about a lot of these things.
Yeah.
In a way, it's not just like, yeah, employees are being catcalled. It's like you said,
like
an
there's
employee committed suicide.
I'll read this one example. It says so this is a quote on the Kotaku article. I presume is this from the actual
It's from the lawsuit, yeah.
So it says, in the office, women are subjected to cube crawls in which male employees drink copious amounts of alcohol as they crawl their way through various cubicles in the office and often engage in inappropriate behavior towards female employees. Male employees proudly come into work hungover, play video games for long periods of time during work while delegating their responsibilities to female employees, engage in banter about the sexual encounters, talk openly about female bodies, and joke about rape. It's like, wow. And that's not even the worst part of this lawsuit. That's just,
I mean, yeah, just below that, you have a quote that says, in a particularly tragic example, a female employee committed suicide during a business trip with a male supervisor who had brought butt plugs and lubricant with him on the trip. Like
what? It's, I don't know. It's a difficult thing for me to fathom. Like that even happened.
And again, it says a male supervisor. So who do you report it to when that is your supervisor?
Yeah.
Like, it's really bad.
Story.
Yeah,
but
really fucking terrible.
But following on from that, ex-Blizzard boss Mark Morhaime to women has said, "I failed you." He has apologized in the wake of this Activision Blizzard lawsuit.
So he's a co-founder, but he hasn't been at the company for quite
he left.
Time.
When did he leave?
Didn't he leave just after the merge with Activision?
Yeah, he left in 2018.
Oh, okay. So actually, not as long ago as I thought.
No, you might be thinking of Chris Metzen. He left before Mark Morhaime. Yeah, and he's released a whole statement. And like I was saying to you, not on the podcast, like look, I completely agree with you where I think a lot of the problem does obviously start at the top. But I have to imagine you are someone who's established this company and you've like left it behind in what you think is good hands, and you read this report or this lawsuit and you're like, what? Like, this isn't the company I built. It's
well, you hope so, because it's like,
exactly.
I mean, all indications are that this isn't a thing that's happened overnight.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You've got the current leadership at Blizzard. What's his name? Alan Brack, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Who came out with a statement saying that he's appalled by the accusations and that this is not a company that stands for this sort of behavior, blah, blah, blah. But then you have a video of him on a panel at BlizzCon in 2010. Him and a couple of other like very notable Blizzard employees, where they were essentially laughing down a woman, a big World of Warcraft fan who had the guts to go to, an expo that is probably she's, vastly outnumbered there in terms of male to female. And, she gets up and asks this panel of men when they're going to start creating female characters in World of Warcraft that aren't just overtly sexualized. And she essentially gets booed by the crowd there, which is a real fucking indicator of your community. And then laughed down by this panel which includes Alan Brack, who is now saying this is inappropriate behavior. So, a lot of this can be very performative. And a lot of people in these situations don't realize that what they're doing is disgusting, or they kind of like justify to themselves that this is just the way people are. And especially people in power have the chance to change these things and choose not to. So they are just as culpable, if not worse. So yeah.
There's that. That is some big news this week.
And I hope it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
I hope this is not something we forget about. I hope this lawsuit keeps dragging its heels and keeps popping up to make this a point. And I hope everyone that was brave enough to come forward in the suit gets the justice they deserve.
Likewise. But yeah, moving on to other news in a complete 180. Amazon's New World. So there's a new Amazon game called New World, which I've been told is essentially a Dark Souls-esque MMO. It is currently
during the colonial expansion of America, which is a real choice of setting. But okay,
it is it's currently bricking RTX 3090 graphics cards, which is if you somehow have found the ability to get your hands on a card, spent a lot of money, and don't need to have it brick buy a game.
And apparently it started out as just these cards, but I know tech YouTuber J2 Cents had like a list of cards that he had received reports of the same thing, and it was like a wide range of cards from both Nvidia and AMD. So like it seems like they've pushed out a patch already. It seems the issue stemmed from the in-game menu not having a frame rate limiter. So when you pause the game or open up the menu, it would just obviously ramp up your card to like the max frames it could put out, and that just destroy all sorts of things like VRMs on the card and stuff like that. So real fucking rookie mistakes made by Amazon during a week where they sent their, previous CEO to fucking space, so.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever. I just know that EVGA has said they're going to be replacing affected cards, which is a real good guy move.
I'm like, it's not even your fault.
It's not their fault. Yeah, it's literally not their fault. But yeah, like you said, I'd be fucking devastated if you just got your hands on this card that was like rarer than gold, and this bullshit MMO just completely nukes it from out of nowhere. So
yeah,
real fun times at Amazon games. They're real struggling with every sort of game. If it's not a game that's just boring to play, it's a game that's like killing people's hardware.
What was that game called that you played?
Crucible.
Crucible. Yes, I could not for the life of me remember what it was called.
The only game that I've reviewed, which then went back into beta and then was cancelled. A real 180. I've never in my life seen something like that. But we played it together. I remember you played.
It was not a good
It sucked. Game sucked. Straight up.
In other final news this week, PES has now officially changed its name to EFootball. EFootball. Perfect for South Africa, let me tell you.
That's actually true.
Yeah. Now it's digital only and completely free to play. Which, to be fair, is something I'm surprised did not happen a lot sooner. Given that, Fortnite and all these other games really changed the game by, going free to play and have. I mean, look, Fortnite's not the only game that's been free to play, but I think that is definitely a milestone where it's like, hey, this game's free. We've got a battle pass. This is how we monetize and we make money. And I mean, look at all the games that have followed. Like every game that follows has some kind of battle pass or some sort of way of making money, which, it's not what's the word? It's not like aggressive or intrusive. It's completely optional. Like it's no, nothing dodgy about that. But I don't know what PES has planned, but it's free to play now, so free football for everyone. And I imagine that,
think it's smart, yeah.
and I think the where they'll make the money will be maybe like FIFA. I don't know if there's player cards or player draws or something like that. There will be
what's it on FIFA side? That Ultimate Team, I think it's
yeah.
called.
So I don't know what PES's
pack shit.
version is, but I imagine there will be some. They have to make money. They're not just going to make it free to play and not make money.
Yeah, I think eventually they launch like maybe roster updates or like specific tournaments that you have to purchase. Like, I just think from a I think all annual sports games will eventually do this, because to me it doesn't make sense to release a game and then 12 months later you're releasing an entirely new product. So you're dropping online support for this game that you spent tons of money on.
Yeah.
You're dropping all the players, that aren't immediately upgrading to the new one. So you've got this like period where you're kind of supporting two games at once because you have to. People make the transition. So rather than that, just have a platform that you consistently update. This is what Fortnite has learned. This is what Call of Duty Warzone has learned. Rather than trying to put out an annual one every year. So I would not be shocked if FIFA does this eventually, if EA does this with all its sports franchises, and reducing the barrier to free to play gets more people playing, gets more people exposed to whatever transactions you potentially putting in front of them. So
also, I think
it makes perfect sense. Yeah,
it gives your like you've indicated, it gives your dev team some breathing room. You're not expected to put out a package every year. It's a thing of like, well, maybe we want to put out, I don't know, this fancy new grass tech. We have time to, put it together, roll it out in phases.
But that's exactly the problem. It was always like every new game, because it was a new project, it was seen as this thing that had to be revolutionary over the previous years. And that like, and then when it didn't feel revolutionary, everyone went, oh, this feels like a cash grab at $60. Now you don't have that problem.
No.
So yeah, that's cool. Oh, look at Messi. Oh.
Where's Pele? Where's my man?
Where's Pele? Pele's playing Fortnite. He doesn't play football games anymore.
My goodness. And that is all the news for this week.